We had a great session and hope we'll be having a great session, and Dr. G. Manjunath, he will be speaking on the emerging trends in labor laws, including labor law codifications. Morning we were interacting. Dr. Manjunath was sharing that normally I prefer afternoon session, and there was a talk that because afternoon and everybody after heavy lunch we feel like sleepy, and he said no, in my session nobody sleeps. Yes, so I'm really anticipating, sir. I hope everybody, sir. It's open to you. So before, I would like to honor Dr. G. Manjunath. Sir, please allow us to honor you. It's our pleasure. And all the dignitaries. Dr. G. Manjunath is currently Welfare Commissioner at Karnataka Labour Welfare Board, Government of Karnataka, Bengaluru. Academically, he is PhD from National Law School of Indian University, Master of Women's Studies, MA Economics and BA double gold medalist and first rank holder from Bangalore University. He has been awarded with many national and international fellowships. He is specialized in law against sexual harassment, industrial relations and labor law jurisprudence, informal labor and social security, corporate social responsibility. He served with many reputed positions such as Deputy Labor Commissioner, Department of Labor, Deputy Labor Commissioner, Belgaum Region and Bengaluru Region 1, Joint Labor Commissioner and Joint Secretary, Karnataka Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Board, and currently as a Welfare Commissioner, Karnataka Labour Welfare Board. Dr. G. Manjunath has presented numerous papers on labor laws in national and international conferences, seminars, and also few research papers under progress.
So, I'm going to honor those who sleep in my session. So, whatever shawls and flowers, I'm going to give it to those who sleep. You wish to sleep? Okay. Well, without wasting much of our time, at the first, I would like to thank Shri Bharat and his team for having given me an opportunity. I don't know Mr. Bharat until he called me up. When you called me up, that time itself you have honored me. There is no necessity for such formal honor. Thank you very much. Thank you for launching such an important organization and also for the inauguration of the magazine. I have seen the magazine. It has come out very well with the panel of editors whom we have taken into. So I wish the magazine and your organization all the very best. It should not be just 8th HR and IR conference. You should achieve 80th, 80, 800. Okay? And call anytime, I'm here. I'll be of some help to you. Well, the two sessions in the morning are really very important. The wisdom and analysis of Professor Mr. Subrao, who spoke on industrial law and education, a conventional type of an institutional arrangement to resolve our disputes in the country, and the second session by Dr. Augustus, very, very, very important. Well, I was given a fellowship by ILO, and I went to ILO Geneva during June. The topic was the future of work. There were 220 scholars who had come globally. They were all talking about this, the future of work, which Mr. Augustus was mentioning. The future of workplace and the future of work. I presented a paper there. And I was the only bureaucrat called there. World. I was the only government functionary from the government service who presented a paper at ILO Geneva. My paper is here, the abstract. I spoke on POSH Act because I specialize on that. Well, now coming to my own topic, how do we relate it to the future of work? Because the future of work and the future of workplace and the law which is going to applicable to that workforce is really very challenging. And all the debates and discussions that's happening in this country because of the codification of labor laws, I think none of the professional organizations have made an attempt to discuss this. I was part of a team set up by the Government of India to discourse and give suggestions on code on social security. We did that. We gave Government of India a lot of suggestions on the code on social security. Many people in this all will be wondering, what is this simplification of labor laws? What is this codification of labor laws? What is that Government of India is trying to attempt by doing this? Then what happens to the other 37 central legislations? And what happens to the institutional arrangements so far set up? What is going to be the officers and where do they fit in now? So these are all very important questions which I have to discuss with you. You will have to bear with me because this is very, very textual. So I cannot show you any videos on these the three important codes on labor law. So, but you can stop me and you shall stop me whenever you feel like having a better understanding on these codes. So the topic given to me is emerging trends in labor laws in India with perspective on codification and amalgamation of labor laws and government initiatives in reforming labor laws. Now coming to the very important aspect called labor reforms. Why do we need labor reforms? Why do we need labor reforms? For whose betterment? Very nice. Who is demanding labor reforms? Bharat is employee friendly. Who is demanding labor reforms in this country?
Employee federations also. Union.
More so, the pressure is more so from the employer's angle, from the employer's perspective. They are demanding labor laws. Why they are demanding amendments to labor laws? What is the itch there? Why they want reforms? To simplify. Very good. To simplify. To simplify the business activity. What else? To have flexibility of what? Very good. The yes, 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 yes. Wonderful. Yes, yes. Yes. Very nice. Very nice. The best argument put forth by the business community or the employers association in favor of drastic labor reforms is that labor reforms is a sort of an impediment to run businesses. And you can't hire the number of people as you want, as you wish to hire. So what is their argument is, if labor laws are reformed, the businesses can run smoothly. The air and fire, the labor laws which causes a sort of impediment in regulation will be eased out. That is their argument. Now what is the argument on the part of the employees association, trade unions, national trade unions? What is their argument? Exactly. So you all know the answer. Their argument, stop these labor reforms, the working conditions and service conditions of the working class is very bad. There need to be regulation of labor law. We need better regulation. We need better enforcement. And then the working conditions of the working class has just dwindled. No real wages for the past 1 decade or 2 decades. That's their argument. Now, from the perspective of HR, you like to balance both. As an IR, industrial relations manager, you like to balance these two things, isn't it? Don't you balance? When the union leaders come into your chamber, you smile at them, you laugh at them. Okay, I'll do everything. Please wait. I'll call my management. I'll talk to them. So that is how you try to balance. Now,
they will put the flag.
otherwise they'll put the flag. Now, see, labor reforms are not just happening in India. Labor reforms are happening throughout the world. Very recently, the France Prime Minister tried to do a lot of things, labor reforms. China was doing, Australia is doing. All countries are trying to bring in reforms basically for one purpose, to do business very cheaply and easily. Now, very recently, we all have read in the newspapers regarding ease of doing business. What is our ranking now? We have now reached 100th rank in ease of doing business. What is this ease of doing business? The World Bank ranking. The World Bank itself doesn't believe in this ranking. It says, be careful, this is just an indication. This is not a ranking where you say that investments, foreign direct investments will flow into that country. Be careful, because in India only 2 cities were consulted or maybe surveyed to arrive at this position. Now, the present NDA government wishes to improve that ranking from 100th to within 50th rank. So, the government they want to bring in these reforms, but labor reforms since 2010 is not the part of the ranking of the World Bank. I will repeat. Labor reforms is not part of the ranking of the World Bank since 2010. So, there is no relationship between labor law reforms and attracting FDIs. There is no relationship at all. Now, many state governments in India, you all know that, Rajasthan, Gujarat, many state governments brought in amendments to the labor laws by making a state amendment. Have investments gone there? Which is the top investment destination country in India? Yes, Karnataka. So we have not brought in any such type of labor reforms either in the Contract Labor Act or in the Industrial Disputes Act. There is no relationship between labor law flexibility and attracting FDI. So this point is very, very clear for all of us. Now, as HR managers, when we studied a plethora of labor laws in our MSWs or PG diploma in IRPM, Subra himself was teaching us labor laws. What was the problem we were facing? Lot of labor laws, plenty of labor laws, plenty of compliance, lot of confusions with the definitions, worker definition, employee definition, lot of confusion. Each law had its own definitions and lot of paperwork, lot of notices, lot of registers to be maintained, isn't it? That is what we were all trying to learn when we were studying MSW or whatever it is, and even as HR practitioners, you have hung up so many notices. Now, of the 37 central labor legislations, all labor legislations will go away. There will remain only 4 codes in India. Only 4 codes. One is Code on Minimum Wages, Code on Wages, Wages Bill, which is introduced in the Lok Sabha already, which is pending before the Committee of Parliamentarians. Then Code on Industrial Relations, Code on Social Security, then Code on Occupational hazards and working conditions. Only 4 codes will be there in India which will amalgamate all the 37 labor laws, central laws. So I'll start from code on wages bill, which is already introduced in the Lok Sabha. Now, if you ask me, when is this code coming into force? Will it become an act? Yes, certainly it is going to become an act, if not in this parliament session, definitely next year, because the government still has 1.5 years left. Has Mr. Modi brought demonetization and GST, he is certainly going to bring in labor reforms. Once these codes become the law of the land, there is going to be a drastic changes in the way labor law is enforced and labor law is complied. All the case laws, thousands and thousands of case laws which was there earlier with respect to each of these laws will perish, will go away, will become redundant. So the way the labor jurisprudence will happen, the way HR compliance will happen, the way IR compliance will happen will change. So let us see what happens to all these laws once most of these laws are repealed. Once these codes come into force, the other laws would be repealed. Okay? Any questions? Until this was an introduction.
What about the existing cases?
Yeah, pending cases continue as of
It will continue. Now the institutional mechanisms itself will break. There will you will not have ESIC, EPF. You will not have authorities on gratuity, maternity, minimum wages. We will see overall authorities also will change. So I'll take up with code on wages. Please stop me whenever you want to have more clarification. Okay? It's introduced. Now this law is to consolidate and amend the laws relating to wages and bonus and matters connected therewith. Now it has 1 to 9 chapters, 68 clauses are there, 4 schedules are there. These 3 acts will be repealed. You will not have these 3 laws once it is passed as an act by the Parliament. Okay? The Trade Unions Act, Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, ID Act will be repealed. Now the definitions, I will go a little bit quickly because there are at least 60 to 64 slides in my presentation, because I'll have to consolidate all the 37 laws which is there in the codes. So it's very, very difficult to consolidate because it's very huge, it's very voluminous. So, but still I made it, and I brought only the highlights and only the key critical issues in all of these codes. So there are definitions like these: employer, facilitator. We have somebody called facilitator. All these years we didn't have facilitators. So we have facilitator. We have definition of wages. So all the it's a single definition of wages under all labor legislations. You were asking so many definitions under many acts. So one definition of wages, very comprehensive definitions of wages. So apprentice is not a worker. Then we have a definition on minimum wages. Then we have same work and work of a similar nature, which is there under Equal Remuneration Act. There shall be no discrimination with respect to wages given to men and women. You know, one of the important report on wage disparity, the wage disparity which is in existence between men and women, not in India, globally. The report says it takes around 200 years to bring in equality in wages, or the balance between men and women. So the act is here where the employers cannot discriminate with respect to wages given to men and women who do same work and work of a similar nature involving same skills, dexterity and knowledge. Now this is the law, prohibition of discrimination on the ground of gender, and if there is any dispute, it has to be decided by the authority which would be appointed by the appropriate government, which is yet to be appointed. Once the main act comes into force, then the rule making power will go to the central government as well as to the state governments. So the rule making power is yet to happen. The appropriate authority would be appointed to settle any dispute with respect to discrimination with respect to payment of wages between the gender. So no employer shall pay to any employee wages less than the minimum rates of wages. So it's the minimum wages requirement. So the statutory right of an employee to get minimum wages. In fact, today is a very important day. Today is a Constitution Day. So Article 23 of the Constitution talks about minimum wages. So the Act says, the code says that the employer has to pay the wages fixed. Okay. Now the most important thing is, under the Minimum Wages Act, we had something called schedule to the Act, where schedule employment and non-schedule employment. What is schedule employment? If the appropriate government wishes to bring in minimum wages to any sector, they would first notify, then bring it into the schedule, then fix minimum wages. Now nothing like that. There is no schedule. Straight away, it is applicable to all citizens of this country, to everybody, no schedule employment. Earlier we had schedule employment, 73, 74, 75, central government to fix national minimum wages. This was always there for almost 2 decades, that there should be something called national minimum wages. ಇಡೀ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ತರನಾದ wages ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. But the code also says the respective state governments can also fix minimum wages, but such minimum wages shall not be less than the national minimum wage. So national minimum wage is a floor level minimum wage, which none of the state governments fix below national floor level. So that is what it says. So there is a provision for fixing national floor level. So the Minimum Wages Act didn't have anything about national minimum wage, but the code provides for fixing national minimum wage by the central government. Now payments of wages has to be made through currency, notes, digital transaction, or through checks. So all the modes they have given, but it says preferably through checks and digital transfer of money to the accounts of the employees. So that is a must. Now it also says, where an employee has been removed, dismissed from service, retrenched or resigned, in such circumstances or even closure of an establishment, wages has to be paid within 2 working days. I will repeat. So whenever there is any closure of the establishment, whenever there is any termination of an employee, dismissal, retrenchment, wages has to be paid within 2 working days. Huh? Normally it's okay. This is under these conditions. Under dismissals, closure, under these circumstances, it has to be paid within 2 days. That's what it says. That's right. That's why it's a very employee centric. So the wages are always denied. We know. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವರ್ಷಗಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So that's why they are brought in such cases. Only in the cases of removal, dismissal, retrenchment, resignation from service, or unemployed due to closure of establishment within 2 days. Then fines. Fines shall not be imposed on any employee without the approval of the government. Fines. Usually we impose fines on employees for a default, for something and all. So that cannot be imposed on the employee without the approval of the appropriate government. Any fine you cannot impose on an employee without taking approval. See, approval is easy. You will send a letter saying him to approve. So the authority will not have much discretion. He cannot conciliate on that issue. He will simply give an approval. Usually that's the matter. Okay. The minimum wages claims not been settled for several years, 2 years, 3 years. So it used to take a lot of time. Now the claims authority has to settle the claims within 3 months. Failure to pay claims and compensation by the employer, recovery procedures is there. Now who can file claims? Failure to pay claims and compensation, recovery procedures. DC ge recovery certificate bardu, then the DC will recover the money if the employer is not paying. Then who can file the claims? The employee concerned can file a claims. The registered trade union can file a claim. Facilitator. It's a new introduction, section 45(4) nallide. So a facilitator can also file the claims. So time limit is 3 years. Limitation, reasonable time limit 2 years atra ittu. Now the code is telling 3 years. 3 years ವರೆಗೂ ಅವನ ಮನೇಲಿದ್ದು ಎದ್ದು ಬಂದು he can file a claims. Proviso delay condemnation ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. So the claims authority can also delay the condemnation even beyond 3 years. So this is a real empowerment to the employees.
That presentation attestors.
Ah.
Provided that company exists.
No, pardon me?
Company may be closed within 6 months. We don't know. With whatever automation exists, after 3 years it becomes in a loose.
Definitely. No, that is what we are telling. The virtual workplaces, labor law. Labor law is applicable to whom? Where? Labor law is applicable to employees and employer if there are relationships. If there are a relationship and if there is a workplace. Now there is no workplace, there is no employer-employee relationship. Where do we apply the law? He was talking about on-demand economy antivi, gig economy antivi, platform economy antivi, where there is a loose connection between employer and employee. Labor law per se will not be applicable. We are talking about something which is ridiculous and which has no meaning in the modern digital automation age where we are working. Already workplaces, automobile and other workplaces are flooded with robots. They are all populated with robots. So where are the employees? Are you going to apply law on robots? Workplace virtual workplaces, so you can sit at your home and work. Where is this labor law going to apply? So, but anyhow, since all the 4 codes bring into their realm domain unorganized sector also. Unorganized workers kuda irodrinda, the impact of these codes on organized sector, manufacturing sectors is very, very less. I'll give you another example. How many million workplaces, establishments are there in this country? 53 million establishments or workplaces anta ನಾವು ಕರೀತೀವಿ. 53 million workplaces ನಲ್ಲಿ the number of establishments employing 100 and above is very, very less. ಎಲ್ಲ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ಗಳ ಇರೋದು, ಓನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಅವನೇ ವರ್ಕರು, ಅವನೇ ಮಾಲೀಕ. ಓನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್, ಅವನೇ ಮಾಲೀಕ, ಅವನೇ ಓನರು ಮತ್ತು ಅವನೇ ಕೆಲಸಗಾರ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಓನ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ವರ್ಕರ್, ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ಗೆ. These are the enterprises which are more in number. The number of factories or establishments or manufacturing sectors employing 100 and more is very, very, very less. Very less. Okay? Now, disputes of bonus deemed to be disputes within the meaning of ID Act. So, if there are any disputes between employer and employee on bonus issues, it has to be understood as an industrial dispute and it has to be resolved. Now, presumption about the accuracy of balance sheet and profit and loss account of corporations and companies. The conciliation officer, the authority, has to presume that whatever data is given balance sheet is accurate. He cannot question the accuracy or inaccuracy of the balance sheets. That's very important. Usually ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಕನ್ಸಿಲೇಷನ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗೋದೇ ಆ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಲೇಷನ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗೋದೇ ಇದು ಬೇರೆ, ಇದು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟು ತಪ್ಪು ಅಂತಾನೆ ಶುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಸೇಸ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸ್ಯೂಮ್. ಎಸ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆಡಿಟೆಡ್. ಅದನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಡೀಟೇಲಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಎನಿ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಬೈ ದ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಆರ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ದ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫೈ. If there is any clarification regarding balance sheet or profit and loss account, if the trade union demands it during proceedings, he will clarify. Aste. Audit of accounts of employers not being corporations or companies, direction by authorities for employers to audit their accounts. If the companies have not audited their accounts, then the authority itself can direct to audit their accounts, and the amount for such audit will be paid by the employer, and auditor will be appointed by the authority. So that's why the companies should audit their accounts through proper auditor. So adu ಮಾಡದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ authority himself can direct for audit. So that's really very interesting. So claims authority, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ appeal authority ಕೂಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬೋನಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. So appeal will be within 90 days and cases to be disposed of within 3 months. So I told you about the facilitators. So ಮೊದಲೆಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಜ್, ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸು, ನಮ್ಮವರೆಲ್ಲ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎತ್ತಿದ ಕೈ. ನೀವು ಈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತೀರ. ಒಂದು ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ತೊಗೊಳಕ್ಕೆ, ಒಂದು ಶಾಪ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ತೊಗೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಸ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. So where is ease of doing business? I don't understand. At the field level is so bad, so ugly. And we talk about EDB. Okay, now this facilitator ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಪ್ರೋಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೇ ಬೈ ನೋಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟರ್ಸ್. ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಜಾಬ್ ಏನಂತಂದರೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎ ಸಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ವೆಬ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಕೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್. ಇದನ್ನು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶ್ರಮ ಸುವಿಧಾ ಅಂತ ವೆಬ್ ಪೋರ್ಟಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಪುಟ್ ದಟ್ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆನ್ ದ ವೆಬ್, and then the complaints also the employers can comply and put that complaints report on the web. So adu web based inspection schedule na notify ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. And then the facilitators the job ಏನಂತಂದ್ರೆ, he has to supply information and advise to employers and also to workers concerning the most effective means of complying with the provisions of this code. So that is his job. This is apart from the regular labor inspectorate or the labor officers. So these are the special facilitators appointed by the appropriate government. Pardon me? No, this shall be appointed by the appropriate government. These facilitators are a different genre of see, ನೀವು ಕರಿ ನಾಯಿನ ಬಿಳಿ ನಾಯಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಳಿ ನಾಯಿನ ಕರಿ ನಾಯಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. These inspectorate will never change their attitudes. We know it. Okay? So that is why they want to bring in facilitators. This is over and above our regular staff. Okay? Over and above. Whose role? See, I will tell you one thing. All authorities for time being are all vanished, including ESIC, EPF, Claims Authority, Industrial Dispute Conciliation Officers. At present, all the authorities and institutional mechanisms set up in this country is all now vanished if this code comes into force. Now this is over and above the regular staff, and it is their duty. Okay? And the facilitator may examine any person, require any person to give any information, search, seize or take copies and such other things. Now I will tell you one thing, I wanted to show something. You know how many, this ease of doing business idiyalla, that is there in my laptop. Okay. See, there are two things which is happening globally. One is amendments to the laws. Now the World Bank very recently came out with some rankings of countries which is doing businesses, ease of doing business. From 2010, if I am right, to 2017, 3,300 amendments are made. in all the 170 economies across the world. How many? 3,300 amendments have been exercised, and World Bank has noted in 170 economies from 2010 to 2017. Now, if so much amendments are made, the next question is, what about regulation? Now, in that ILO conference, there was one professor from Hebrew University in Jerusalem, David Farr, something like that. He is an expert on regulation in the world. He was talking about the rise and the rise of regulation. Now, amendments ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ regulation ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. It's a sort of a parallel railway line. The more you amend, it might be simplified, but regulation will not go away. It will emerge in another avatar. Now, same with these codes. Because that we have brought in codes, don't think regulation has gone away. It is appearing in another avatar. So, the regulatory mechanisms of a state, as well as the amendments brought in by the states, have increased. It has not come down, and it will never come down. But what's happening in the world is, apart from the state, non-regulatory, non-state actors. State is not powerful. How many of you think still state is powerful? States are still powerful? Which are the 5 powerful companies in the world? Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. 5 powerful companies in the world will have the GDP of more than 150 countries. So, states are not powerful. It is private corporations like what we talked about are powerful, and they can make rules. They can create power balance. It's called how the capitalist and the political economy of a state, ಅವರು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಥರನೇ ಕಾನೂನುಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Now, under this code, cognizance of offences, complaint by officer, authorized employer, all these things, even facilitator can file a case anta I have told you. Now, coming to penalty, paying less than statutory provisions, either minimum wages, whatever it is, fine is up to 50,000 rupees. Subsequent offence for not paying minimum wages, imprisonment up to 3 months, and fine up to 1 lakh or with both. ಮೊದಲಿಂದನೂ ಲೇಬರ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಫೈನ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು? 100 rupees, 25 rupees, 200 rupees. So, employer is to pay the fine and get away. Now, the fine has increased a lot. So, see, in any act there is something called, any law, especially labor law, will have 2 things. One is substantial law. What is it? Substantial law. The other is procedural law. Substantial law andre enu? The core idea of that law. ಈಗ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು? ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾ ಏನು ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ? ಟು ಪೇ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್. ಬೋನಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಟು ಪೇ ಬೋನಸ್. ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಲಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಯಾವುದೇ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಲಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸು, ನೋಟಿಸಸ್ಗಳು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡೋದು, ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಕಳಿಸೋದು, ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಲಾ. ಈ 3-4 ಕೋಡ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾ ವಯೋಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಇಂಪ್ರಿಸನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಜೊತೆ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಪುಟ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೈನ್. ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್, ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ ನೀನು ಆ್ಯನ್ಯಲ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಕಳಿಸಿಲ್ಲ, ಫಾರಮ್ ಡಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ, ಫಾರಮ್ ಎಫ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ, ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾ ನೀವು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಬಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್ ಸಮ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಮೇಂಟೈನ್, ಬಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಗೆಟ್ ಇಟ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ಸ್ ಎ ಮೇಜರ್ ವಯೋಲೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಐಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅವರ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ರಾಂಗ್. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸೇ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದು, ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಲಾ ಇದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಫೈನ್ಸ್ ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟೀಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಲಾ ವೈಲೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ. ನಾನ್ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇಂಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಬರೀ ಫೈನ್ ಇದೆ 10,000, ನೋ ಇಂಪ್ರಿಸನ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ procedural lapse, procedural law violation. Compounding of offences. ಇದು penalty ಏನಿತ್ತು, that 50,000, 1 lakh and all, can be compounded by an officer appointed by the appropriate government, not the claims authority. ಅವನೇ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಸ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವನೇ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವರೇ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಸೆಟಲ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ that compounding officer is an officer to be appointed by the appropriate government. So if the 50% of the maximum fine employer pay ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, then if the case is before the court, magistrate court, that case can be withdrawn by filing a affidavit in the court that it has been compounded by the appropriate authority appointed by the government. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ? ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ನೋ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಶಾಲ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಟೈನ್ ಎನಿ ಸೂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ರಿಕವರಿ ಆಫ್ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್. ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಯಾರೇ ಒಬ್ಬ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯಿ, ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೇಟರು, ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟು ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸು, ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯುನಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನೋ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ, ಇದು ಕೇಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ. ನೋ ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ಸ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ ಏನು ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೋಗಬೇಕೇ ವಿನಃ ನನಗೆ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ವೇಜಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ಕೋರ್ಟ್. ವಾಟ್ ಮೈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್? ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ಸ್ ಅಥಾರಿಟಿ. ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ,